Thanks everybody for coming. My name is Jennifer Buchanan. I'm the Watershed Projects Director at the Mitt Watershed Council. I'm really excited today to have representatives from Inhabitect here. They are the green roof gurus of the North, if I can call you that. Nathan Griswold is going to be presenting. He's the founder and president of Inhabitect, the Traverse City-based. Inhabitect is a full-service firm devoted to design, building, growing, and all forms of living architecture. Nate's been kind of leading the charge for over a decade in the green roof industry. He's got extensive experience in design, development, sales, construction, and so on. If you look at their website, you'll see all the amazing certifications and whatnot that he has. So, including an associate's in plant science from Northwestern Michigan College and a bachelor's in landscape architecture from Michigan State University. We're going to be working with Nate and Eric, his project manager, this summer or next summer with the our college here to do a small green roof. So we're going to have some nice local demonstrations to share with you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm going to walk you through what green roofs are, show you some of the projects that we've worked on regionally and throughout the country. As Jennifer mentioned, I've been doing this for over a decade. It's actually pushing 15 years now. And in that time, I've been all over North America, as well as fun places like the Caribbean and other spots. So I'm going to actually take a seat so that I don't block anybody's view here. So Inhabitect, we're 5 years old at this point. In May, we'll be 5 years old. It's based in Traverse City. I've got a landscape architecture degree. I'm also a registered green roof professional, or GRP. That's a certification that anybody can get if you're interested in this technology. As I said, Inhabitect is about 5 years old. We've done a lot of different projects throughout the region. And in my 15 years prior to starting Inhabitect, I worked out of Chicago for a company called American Hydrotech, which is one of the industry leaders in North America. And I was a senior level sales guy there and would travel all over the country supporting those efforts. In that time, I've been lucky enough to do over 1,000 projects. I haven't personally installed each one of those, but I've helped sell products on it or consult on them all over the place. I'm the North American Policy Educator. That's for GRHC, which is Green Roofs for Healthy Cities. It's our trade association, another organization that you should look into if you're interested in this technology. Or Green Walls, they also do that, as well as some green infrastructure, living infrastructure like rain gardens they're starting to get into, and it's sort of the clearinghouse for our industry. They're the ones who help or facilitate the Green Roof Professional certification. I'm also the co-chair of the Advanced Green Roof Maintenance Committee, and that's where we're creating standards for the industry of how to take care of these green roofs post-installation. So here's some more credentials of mine. Going all the way back to high school, I've been doing horticulture and moved up through the Career Tech Center there and down in Traverse City through Northwest Michigan College and the University Center on the Michigan State. And then started to build that through ASLA, American Society for Landscape Architects, and Green Roofs for Healthy Cities with the GRP. We're a full service design firm, and we're designing, building, and growing all forms of living architecture. So top to bottom, we can help you out. We can consult and design on the front end, install these systems, and then also maintain them afterwards. Our specialty, though, is green roofs. You can see two here. I'll show you those projects a little more detailed further into the presentation. But the one on the upper right, that is the Cowell Family Cancer Center at Munson Medical Center down in Traverse City. That's just one of 3 roofs that has a plaza area, benches that patients can look out over during their treatments there, as well as their family can go out there and get a little quiet time. The one on the bottom is a place called Cherry Capital Foods, also in Traverse City. So you know, we look at like the whole thing, as I said, start to finish, from the initial planning all the way through the establishment and maintenance. So we're going to help you at every stage and support the project to make sure that everything is going right. You know, the technology, there's many companies out there that can do this, many people that want to do this, but a really important part of doing a green roof is making sure at a minimum you have somebody that has a GRP or Green Roof Professional certification, because there are problems that could arise if you don't know the right questions to ask and the right ways to install. So here's some organizations that I'm affiliated with. This is who I used to work for. I still work with them. I still represent their products because I feel they're top of the line. It's called American Hydrotech. They do waterproofing and roofing, and they've been doing waterproofing for 50 years and green roofs for over 20. I really like this system, these rainwater hogs. It's a rain barrel, but it's sleeker, and it's more resilient to the elements, more than just a plastic, you know, the 55-gallon barrels you'll see. These are really sleek. You can hide them under decks. You can, you know, they don't take up very much room and they hold 51 gallons. So they're pretty cool. I'm going to be putting these on my house in the spring. We also do rain gardens. This is some images from 2 that we built this last summer in Traverse City near Kids Creek. We worked with the Traverse City Watershed group down there. And and these are 2 large ones. The first one, it was at the Grand Traverse Commons on site there, and it had partially contaminated soils, so they didn't want water infiltrating through there, so we actually had to put a membrane down underneath it. So it's more of a pond than it is a rain garden, but it's functioning as a rain garden. It just does not let the water infiltrate. And then the one on the bottom there is at another building nearby, same watershed. So overall, a lot of the green roofs that are happening on Munson's campus and then these rain gardens are all protecting Kids Creek, which is a main tributary to the bay, to West Bay. Permeable pavement is another thing that we get into. This company here is pretty cool. Their systems are actually partially made out of recycled tires. Every 1,000 square foot of this product takes 300 tires out of the landfill. And you can use this to move water through the system, and again, we're looking at the holistic approach to the roof, or to the site of managing water. Another more heavy-duty system here is called pave drain. Different types of living walls. This one here is a trellis system where vines grow up it, and that, you know, the plants are actually in the soil and the ground, and the main difference between them and then these ones here is the soil or the growing media is actually in the walls for most of these. And these are structural walls that would replace your typical concrete block wall. Another form of green infrastructure. We also consult on solar PV. So you can see these here. These aren't our jobs, but these are from Germany. But there's tests out of Germany and out of the United States that show solar panels actually producing at a higher efficiency than they do without green roofs, because of the evaporative cooling effect of the plants actually cools the back of the solar panel and makes it more efficient. So it's a symbiotic relationship between the two, and overall it's a good double use of your site. You're managing stormwater and generating electricity. So our customers and our clients are usually architects, landscape architects, engineers, and you can see the rest of the list here, all the way down to the homeowner and community stakeholders. Organizations like this one here, we're very happy to come to and share our story, educate the community. We do that at all different levels. So what is a green roof? A green roof, this is a technical, this is the official definition, is a green roof is a vegetated living or eco roof, and it is a multi-layered system that is installed above a watertight man-made structure. So basically that's over waterproofing, and there's many layers that you need to consider. And I'll have this up here so anyone that wants to come and look at it after the lights are back on. But basically the bottom layer is your roof deck. That can be concrete.
Do you want it on or off?
It doesn't matter. It can be concrete or it can be wood. That's your roof. And then you have your waterproofing layers, you have a root barrier, you have insulation, you have your drainage board, which is here. This is going to hold water as well as drain water. And then you have a fabric that keeps all of your soil from washing away, and then your plants on top. So it's a lot of layers, but it's all there to mimic the functioning of what you'd get out of the first few feet of soil at grade. It's going to drain, it's going to retain water, it's going to support plant and root growth with various pore spaces. You know, there's air within that soil, so the plants and roots can breathe, and it's a really healthy environment. It's an engineered environment, but you're on top of a building, so you have to be engineered to do that. So again, I'll keep this up here, and feel free, and we can pull it all apart and check it out afterwards. So there's different types of green roofs. This one here is known as extensive. It's shallower roofs. So there's two main types of green roofs: extensive and intensive. And how I always remember that is intensive, it's heavier. So think of more intensive weight. And that's a deeper system. But this one here is a lighter weight system. It's less than 6 inches of soil or growing media depth. It weighs less than 35 pounds per square foot typically. The plant diversity is minimal, and that's because the root systems of the plants are shallow. So you can't plant a big ornamental grass in 6 inches and expect it to live, because its roots have nowhere to go. So that's where you're cutting off the diversity of plants, is anything that can survive in 6 or less inches of soil. There's a lot there, but it is a more limited palette. It's going to be lower maintenance because of that limited plant palette. You don't have a lot of diversity there, but it is the workhorse of the green roof industry. It's a big sponge up on the roof managing stormwater, which is one of the #1 reason these things are used. This is a large campus. This is only a fraction of that project. This one's in Cary, North Carolina. It's on a campus. They wanted to make sure that they had zero runoff from their site, so they're managing anywhere from 40 to 60% of every rainfall on the roof before it even leaves the roof. So that's a huge thing for the civil engineers to take into account when they're designing the overall infrastructure on site. Many communities actually require you to have them now, and this one did it on their own. This one here is more of an ornamental version of it. This is in Brooklyn. This is where the Brooklyn Nets play, the Barclays Center. And you can see this, it's an extensive on a very steep slope. There's this product here that you can see. This hangs down and holds soil on the rooftop. So you can go at pretty much any angle. So this is not only, you don't only need to do it on the flat roof. This is a specially engineered system, but it still is extensive or shallow. So, and here's one that's another extensive roof up top, intensive down below. This is on the 7th floor roof of development, or maybe it's 4th floor, and I'm on took the picture on the 7th. I forget, but this is a project that is in Portland, and these are all community gardening spaces on the rooftop. This is actually a fire hydrant, and then we had to design that so dogs could go up there and use the restroom or the bathroom. You know, and it's actually a fire hydrant, and we engineered a special soil for where the urine would go and down into the waste stream versus into the runoff, and rain barrels collected that they use water for the gardening area. So this is a zone that, when this was built, it was in a sort of a rougher area of, like, it wasn't, it's Portland, there's not a lot of bad areas, but this was an area where to get buyers to come in there, they needed to provide something special. And this is a protected space that a community space, a gathering space, and an otherwise, unused rooftop. In the past, that there wouldn't have been any interaction with your neighbors at that level. This one's another steep one. This is in Boston, in South Boston, and this one is there's actually it's on YouTube and Netflix. There's a movie about the construction of this building. It's called The Greening of Southie. You can check that out. look for my cameo. But the, you know, I mean, this one is, you know, at a 5 and 12 slope, so it's pretty steep. And those are, each of these little areas is a condo.
What was the name again?
Greening of Southie.
Southie.
So it's south and then IE.
IE.
That's what they call it in Boston. Southie.
Boston.
Boston, yeah.
Got to find it on the
Yeah, you'll find it. And
okay.
It's a great video about teaching these really old school construction guys about what a green building is. They thought, and they have the typical Boston accent and attitude. It's a pretty interesting show. Yeah, that's what they thought. Yeah, so it's a very
kind of rough. Irish gangs.
This is for the master gardeners. This is a master gardener in Austin, Texas, that has some money, but this is all Texas natives, not irrigated, and we worked closely together to pick where they would be on the slope and figured out all the drainage and everything, and that's what that is up on the roof, is a Texas native planting. This is in out in Seattle. All of this is green roof. This is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and this, just to give you scale, this is over 2 acres, that space.
Wow.
So they do them very large. So intensive. It's going to be a great intermediate depth. It's going to weigh 30 plus pounds, as much as 300 pounds. You know, I planted trees that are 8-inch caliber on them, that are 40 feet tall, that get craned up onto the rooftop, and you have to design it. I was just looking at one yesterday down in Detroit. It's going to be a new hotel. They're rehabbing a building, and they're going to have 20 trees that are 30 plus foot on the 8th story roof. So talk about an engineering challenge, is 1, to get it up there, and then 2, to keep it up there. So like, and not fall over because of the winds that you get up there. So there's a whole system of that, you know, I'm able to help them with because it's been done before.
Is that another downtown Detroit?
Yeah, it's a new hotel right across the street from the Little Caesars Arena. It's an old building, an old warehouse building. They're making it into a boutique hotel with a rooftop pool, sort of like this here. This is on the roof again, lap pool. It's at the same building as the one I showed you in Southie. This is the community space they built on top of their parking garage. So they voted to move this into this type of a space versus places to park cars. Some people don't have cars, so they decided, why not make it a barbecue area and a lap pool and a place you can go outside versus being trapped in your condo all the time. So you're going to have a higher diversity of plants and more standard landscape maintenance, similar to what you would have at your home. This here, believe it or not, is the roof. So, you know, this is just showing you the diversity of what can happen on the roof with the intensive. This one here is in Vancouver, British Columbia. These are silver maples, and this picture was taken about a decade ago, and these now, the branches are interwoven. That's how big they are. The trees are huge. And this area right here is about 20,000 square feet, so about a half acre there.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Can you go back one?
Yep.
What about the root systems? How do you prevent the root systems from getting too deep and affecting the...
Great question, and that's where the root barrier, so you have your waterproofing, and above there you have a root barrier. So you have some type of layer, there's many different types. It'll be most of it's high density plastic, or HDPE, and it's tested for up to 2 years typically in a lab to test that for root penetration. And then you put that down over your waterproofing to make sure roots aren't going to go into your waterproofing. And yeah, Penn State does that, and you know you test it against the most aggressive root systems out there, and you put it in there and see what happens. You have to patiently wait for 2 years, and then you pass the test.
So what are some of those other plants in that? I mean, I see the maples, but
these are all different types of like grasses. I believe this is blue stem right here. and I'm not exactly sure here, but they're all
Grass.
grasses and other types of larger ground cover here. I think this is some type of juniper, I believe. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't design this. This is one I maintained. I didn't help with the plants on this one.
A lot of the prevention also has to do just simply with plant selections. You don't select plants that are going to be overly aggressive.
Yeah, like a running bamboo, for instance, you don't use.
Anywhere.
Yeah, right. But clumping bamboo is okay with the right precautions. But you know, there is a project like, again, this is why working with a GRP is important. Is like some people don't know that. And there was one where we told them, don't use the bamboo. It was a hotel in Philadelphia. Don't use bamboo, don't use the bamboo, don't use the bamboo. They used the bamboo, and within a year, the roots had gone through the side of the concrete planter, all the way through it, and it was right next to the pool, and it found its way into the pool system and all kinds of stuff, and they had to rip it all apart and closed the pool in the middle of the summer at a fancy hotel, so it wasn't a very good situation for them. And I'm sorry, I'll back up a little bit on the technology. Like, I'll pass this around. So the garden drain, this product, there's various different sizes. So this would be selected based on your water requirements for your particular green room. Because the cups are a little bigger in this one versus this, and there's even one that's shallower that I'm not sure I have a sample of. And so it's just about half this height. So sometimes you have to play with like how much depth, soil depth you have versus like, you know, okay, I have a door threshold that I need to meet, so I need a really shallow drainage profile because I want to have 6 inches of soil to plant whatever it is. So you play with these based on the needs of the project. And you also, and backing up even more, and I apologize, I sometimes get all excited and forget about the details about these, but another number one thing that Jennifer and I ran into here, they're thinking about doing one up here, is the number one thing you always do is do a structural analysis. So number one thing is always, I won't work on a project unless it's been signed off by somebody with an architectural stamp or an architect or builder.
Going back to your maples and on the
Yes.
same subject you're talking about. So, I mean, obviously new construction's going to be easier than existing construction, like you're talking about
Right.
here. So, you know, engineering a building that's already 50 years old,
Right.
you might not even know what that is. You bring somebody in. So even with new construction and your maples, you're having to spec for what, 40 years out?
Yeah, maturity, yeah.
Maturity level, right?
Yep. 80 years, I mean.
80, right.
Yeah, so like,
So,
you look at how long.
but you're
you-
building for that 80-year future from
Right.
a structural standpoint. So
Exactly.
that's a cost that's,
Right, but you would do it over the whole deck, and like typically with the big
Yeah.
trees,
Right.
it would be where there's a big post in
Right.
the building or something. But yes, like, and actually in time, the interesting thing that I learned is that in time, when you first put the plant there, the large tree, for
Right.
instance, it's going to be the heaviest right there it's ever going to be, because as the root system grows,
Right.
it
And so
pushes
does-
the weight is
And the
distributed
limbs, right.
further out.
right.
So it's over a bigger space. So that's part of the planning. You know, if you did a tree box with something that's really that's going to get massive, like a silver maple or something,
Right.
you know, it's going to get root bound. It's going to get stunted. So you can actually do that too, where you can contain the roots,
Control the, right.
control the roots, and
Right.
you don't. And it could die in time,
Right.
but it's also going to be stunted for a long period of time before.
So if these roots
it gets
aren't
stripped.
going down, are they going sideways?
They go
If they're
sideways,
not buried,
yeah.
okay, okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. So, and please just ask any questions that you have. This one here is in Battery Park City, another intensive, that's in New York City and Manhattan. Again, this is a condo development that nobody, you know, there's no even room for patios there. So this is where the owners of this place can come up and get some sun. And don't, private. This is at the American Society of Landscape Architects in Washington, D.C. So why green roofs? they're value-added infrastructure option. So they're a product that they're going to manage stormwater. That's like the number one reason they're popular is stormwater management. It's basically a sponge up on your rooftop that's going to hold that water, and then it's retaining it, and it's also detaining it. And the difference between retention and detention is that retention stays there forever or is evaporated. Detention will slowly drip out of that sponge down the road. So, and that can be all engineered. That's something that we help with. So we can figure out exactly how much water is going to hit the roof, what's going to be held. Your civil engineer can size their pipes, their stormwater pipes, based on that. And so that's the number one reason. And there's various other forms of infrastructure that I'll talk about and benefits that it has. But it's providing economic, environmental, and social benefits. All three, triple bottom line benefits. There's different ways that it can help you and the community. So there's public and private benefits that come with these as well that are proven. There's calculations to show this that can be used in calculating your ROI or return on investment. You can look at this and you can look, okay, what's the benefit of having this break room off of so my employees can go out on the roof and have their lunch? You know, like what's the productivity you get out of that? There's all kinds of calculations that can be run to help compute that. You know, dollar to dollar, when you're comparing it to other infrastructure options, so for instance, a pipe underground to take all your stormwater and dump it into the bay, you know, you get all your dollars paying for is a pipe to dump water into the bay. But if you put that dollar into a green roof or any other types of green infrastructure, you're getting benefits on multiple sectors in multiple ways for that same expenditure. So, and it's doing the same thing, managing the water. It can fit into new and retrofit construction. So it can go, you know, and we spoke about that. You can look at a building like this that's, you know, barely can hold snow load, and then you can put more beams up there and figure whatever needs to happen. That's retrofits are possible. Sometimes you find projects where they're built and they're 2 stories tall, but they're engineered to hold 10 more stories above them, and you could park a couple semis up there and do whatever you need to do on the roof and not have to do anything. Some structures are like that. And they don't require an additional land to provide recreational space. That's a huge benefit, and a huge reason to use it. So some of the public benefits, so things that are going to help your community, people around you, your neighbors, is they create green collar jobs. So is a term coined in the industry that it's educating people to be out there and actually on the ground and working on these jobs and doing things that are better for the environment. It's going to improve the stormwater management of your site, both in quality and quantity. By quality, it's going to slow the water down, so it's the velocity of stormwater it's slower when it hits our waterways. It's cooling it down because it has a chance to cool down within the soil itself, and then it's also holding onto particulate matter that comes down from the rainfall, or that would typically be on your rooftop. From our air, any rooftop, you look out at a white membrane you might see when you can look down on a roof and it's all gray and brown. All of that is laden with heavy metals and other stuff, and that washes into our waterways when we get a big rainfall. If you have a sponge or a green roof up there, it holds that material, and it doesn't leave. And then in quantity, again, it's retaining and detaining, so it's reducing the volume leaving the roof too. So improving the air quality because of the plants there. Biodiversity gives more options for birds and insects, and if your green roof if your roof touches the ground, mammals can get up there. The overall municipal infrastructure costs go down in places that are really dense. Even downtown Petoskey, if they have problems with the storm pipe down a certain road because it's 100 years old, if they're maintaining the water on site on a roof, it's not rushing in there and contributing to the potential overflow of the storm system. Increased tax revenue. These things increase the value of your building, so then the city or the community, the building's worth more money. and that owner is paying higher tax, or that builder or developer can then go out there and sell it for more money though. It's about a 10 to 15 average, up as high as 25% more per unit in condo developments with this type of infrastructure. It's going to minimize the urban heat island effect. That's your building heating up and heating the urban area around you. This is reflecting heat or absorbing heat versus it's hitting on your membrane and holding there and transferring into your building. You have plants that are evapotranspiring, and I think of it as a force field that's cooling the air around it, and that heat can't get into your building. Even with an insulated roof, you're still going to have some heat transfer holding that membrane in a warmer environment than you would want. There's new recreational opportunities. You talked about that a little bit, and also reduces greenhouse gas emissions.
What about snow load?
Snow load, great question. Snow load is engineered into the structure. So let's say this building or any building, you look at it and the engineer, number one, has to verify that it can hold the snow. And snow loads have changed in the last, 80 years ago, they didn't exist. Now they're, so you do the snow load plus the weight of the green roof. So you can't transfer it. You can't say, I want a green roof instead of a snow load, because you're still going to get snow. You engineer for snow and the green roof together. Does that answer your question? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the green collar jobs, and I'll rush through some of these, but this here is a good story. This is in Queens, I believe it was. Queens, or I believe it's Queens, I don't know, somewhere, one of the boroughs of Manhattan. And I was there for 4 days training all the kids in the yellow were all really at-risk youth, a lot of offenders that have been in prison already, gangbanger types, and I spent 4 days in this whole program in New York. There was about 40 kids there to teach them about green roofs and to give them a certification that they could use on a resume building to go to and speak to companies like mine out of New York that are looking for people that are interested in putting these in. So that was a pretty good situation, and actually a couple of these kids currently still work for my friend that has a construction company in New York City. So, and also, this is sort of represent, I don't know who these people are, but I pulled it off the web, but it represents, diversity and bringing different people together as well, but also anywhere from laborers to more professional jobs, so everyone's working together on a good cause. Stormwater management, water is a system and not a substance. We're never going to get more water, or it's not falling out of the atmosphere. All the water we have on the planet's here now. So it's moving in a cycle. So these are helping replace a surface that used to be permeable. We're looking at various different technologies to help create these. And I am skipping some stuff. It's because of time's short today. So we're restoring nature's ability to capture water where it falls. That's a big thing, and it's capable of substituting or offsetting natural ecosystems. So, I've had people argue, well, you're doing a development and you're not, you're putting an extensive roof up there, and this used to be a meadow or something like that. Yes, but it's better than not having that on the rooftop. It's like usually what I say. I'm not the one, I don't own the property, so I'm just trying to help make it greener. So it's acting like a sponge, and that's a good way to think about it. Think of a dry sponge, and you put it under a tap, and you're holding it there until it's saturated, and right when it's saturated, it starts dripping out of the sponge. That's exactly how a green roof works. There's a capacity to hold it, and once it's ready and that's delay. So like when you start putting water in there, the delay of when it starts to drip is what those civil engineers are after, because that delays the water from flushing with all the other water out into the bay. That's typically about 2 hours for a drop that hits it to actually hit a drain once it's saturated. So that's an engineer, that's what the engineers are looking for, is that type of data, and we can help with that. So it's going to reduce the volume, it's going to cleanse the runoff and improve water quality, and slow the rate that it's leaving the roof. Every project has a stormwater budget. If you're building a new house, you're paying, if you know it or not, you're paying somebody, be it your builder or the landscape architect or the civil engineer that worked on the site or the developers. Somebody planned to put the water that hits your roof in your driveway somewhere. So even the most basic home has somebody you're paying for something, you know, a stormwater management plan. It's required by every municipality and every township. So green roofs, you can actually take that budget and help roll it into a greener technology. And I've done that many times where instead of paying an engineer to design big pipes underground at a new shopping mall, they could put that same money onto the roof and then get all those other benefits we've talked about. So every drop, you know, you have to manage it. You have to show how you're going to manage it. Talked about the increased tax base. That's important. Urban heat island effect. This year, this is the Chicago City Hall, and it's a demonstration roof. This is one of the first ones in Chicago that helped really kickstart the movement. It's about 15 or 18 years old now, but it's really a very diverse roof. It's on 50% of the roof, and you can read all the data about historic stormwater management and the reduction of air conditioning requirements on that side of the building. But here is very clear that everybody can see. It's a FLIR image of this site, and you can see where the green roof is. It's dark blue down in the 74-degree range. But then you look over here on the hot, you look here where it's close, you know, closer, it's not as hot because, you know, there's not as much going on. But this white wall, the reflection of that, burning hot, 151 degrees. So by blasting your membrane with that heat, you're weakening that membrane, which then increases the likelihood you're going to have to replace it. So I always think about it as a paper clip. And if you have a paper clip and you straighten it out and you start bending it, that's one day, that's your membrane heating up. You bend it back, that's it cooling off. You bend it back, and eventually you're going to break your paper clip. And that's the same thing happening in your membrane. It's heating up and cooling down, heating up and cooling down. And it might take 12 years of that, but you're going to get a crack in your membrane and you're going to get leaks. So green roofs protect it. It's underneath and they don't get that UV ray. So private benefits, how is it going to benefit you if you put one of these on your structure? Aesthetic improvements, it's going to look better. I mean, that's a big reason that a lot of the ones that I do on residential, they like how it looks, and you know, that's their number one reason. But then they also benefit from the stormwater management or the cooling benefits that can happen there. The energy savings is the one, because you're on most residential homes, if you have one, the evaporative cooling effect that happens from those plants, again, is keeping the heat of the day out of your building, and that either help you, you know, if you have central air, you're not going to have to turn it on as much. Or if you don't, you might be able to avoid central air altogether if you do it right. And this is part of your, and so, you know, so that's an energy savings there. You're increasing the value of your property by having this, because, you know, if it's a commercial building and you have a green roof, you can say, I'm selling you this green roof, and because of that, you likely will never have to replace your waterproofing membrane. Where if you buy a commercial building, one of the things you're going to figure is, okay, 10 years down the road, I'm going to have to spend $100,000 or whatever it is to replace my membrane. And that's part of your calculations as a buyer is, okay, I'm going to have to, you know, so that's another benefit. Increased employee productivity and reduced absenteeism. Absenteeism is proven. There's tests and data on all of that. We talked about the solar panel. We talked about the membrane durability, meeting stormwater and green space regulations. Places like Denver just passed this. Any new building over a certain square footage, commercial building, has to have green roofs or solar panels. So that's a mandate. It's not a choice. And so San Francisco has a similar thing, and so does Toronto, and various other cities has different levels. But those three cities are the first ones to mandate it. Like, there's no choice. There's a lot of fight from the developer sector and manufacturing sector, but people are holding strong because those people are contributing huge roof space to all of our infrastructure, and it's costing everyone money. So now you can use this to meet your stormwater requirements for your site. Improves marketability. That's sort of a greenwashing one, but you know, if you have a business and you have an awning with grass growing on it, people are going to be like, well, that's cool, and they might walk into your shop. You know, so that's the type of thing that is. And then in dense areas, urban agriculture is huge. In places like this here is an old naval ground in Brooklyn. There's a lot of other ones like that all over those older cities on the East Coast where they want to grow food right there. And yeah, they want to do it. And this is a great way to, it's like this here, not that exact roof, but one that's right across the street from it. They grow all kinds of hot peppers. It's super warm up there, you know, it's perfect for growing peppers. You don't have pests up there. There's all these benefits that you get out of it. And it's set up where they're creating, there's all these value-added options there. Like they have their own branded hot sauce. They have their own brand, you know, all this different stuff coming from the roof. And people want it. It's called Brooklyn Grange, is this one here. So that's an option. So we talked about increased property values. That's coming from marketability, branding, LEED accreditation, again, branding yourself as being eco-sensitive, and also higher rent and sales. Again, this is all proven data, benefits. Urban agriculture, we talked about this. This one here is it's called the Gary Comer Youth Center. That's in the west side of Chicago, southwest side. That's a center where kids can come to get rid of, they sort of escape from the gangs. It's like a huge, and they teach them about growing food. They teach them about that tomatoes come from the ground and not in a Happy Meal. And you know, that's basically what that is. And the Obamas are huge contributors there. They're there all the time. This is in near their neighborhood. So you know, there's a lot of educational opportunities with the food on roofs. Maximize your property usage. I've told you that, you know, these roofs will hold a good percentage of your rainfall. This is a campus. I forget what campus it is. It's one of the it's down in the southeast part of the country. But this huge pond, all these buildings, parking lots are all running to that pond, and they're capturing it there. But if all those buildings had green roofs, they could put another building there. They could have a community center there for their students, or you know, they could have it as green space. You know, but they have to have all this water rushing in there, and it's really a waste of real estate. So you know, if you can manage all that water up top, you can do that and add more value to your property. So there's policy work that's been done. I actually, as a policy educator for the industry, I actually helped create these two documents. They're available online. And if you want to grab my card and ask me to send them to you, I can send them to you in PDF. This one's about 150 pages, and it goes through every city and the incentives and the guidelines that they have of the requirements for green roofs. Or Washington D.C. will give you $12 a square foot towards your green roof if you do it, because it's cheaper for them to pay for your green roof, or in part pay for it, than it is to fix the pipes underground. So they'd actually give you money, because all that water that would be leaving your site would cost them more than $12. So they'd rather, give you the money and make it green, and then that water is off their budget, their management budget, their requirements. This one here is strategies for creating green infrastructure throughout your communities. So it lists the benefits and strategies for approaching decision makers. So, and this is a little outdated, but now it's more of about a factor of 20. So in the last 15 years, 14 years, the industry's blown up. And I was lucky enough to be there at the very beginning and working with the largest manufacturer of green roofs in North America. So that's where I did 1,000 green roofs. But there's so many more jobs in this industry. It's amazing. And so many peripheral jobs of manufacturing and like, you know, plant growers and maintenance companies, and like it's growing fast. Every new project in Detroit, every redevelopment in Detroit has stuff on their rooftop now. So Michigan green roofs. We're doing them all over the state. I just got back from down in Detroit area yesterday, and there's like big ones going on. Like, and a lot of it's fancy hotels or condos, but they're putting people on the roof and giving them a skyline view, giving them a river view, and that just adds to the overall health of the community, in my opinion. So there's a lot of different reasons why they're being put up there. We talked about that. There's federal recognition. The EPA looks at these and has stamped on these. I'm waiting for the day that they say that, you know, that it's a federal mandate would be nice for the industry, but for our infrastructure too. It's not just, I'm not just looking to make money off of it. It'd be like, you know, it'd be a mandate that, you know, any building of X size has to do this would be a dream. But like, the programs that are talking about green roofs are the Green Infrastructure Action Plan, the Clean Water Act, and the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System, and the Urban Heat Island Initiative. Those are all things within the EPA that call green roofs out from the federal level. I don't know how our current administration has changed that, but time will tell. But these are all things that are documented and that help people like myself or companies like me talk to the architects, the policymakers in regions and say, hey, look, the EPA is saying that it's okay. So they'll work within your program. So, and I know we're getting towards the end, and I'll just go through some regional examples real quick. Cherry Capital Foods, we did that in 2014. It's a pretty cool place if you've never been. It's a food distribution warehouse, but it collects from all different small farmers and small food producers, and underneath this roof, the green roof, is all these little offices, like a kombucha maker and like cheese maker and a lot of different things going on there. And then they all, when they produce their food, they just carry it across the hall, and there's the distribution right there. So it's a great spot.
And really that's another real thing. Talk about employee satisfaction and employee retention. If you have a business like that, that's a great example of those places. We go there to do some maintenance and so on once in a while on that roof, and there are always, every day, employees out there either working on their sales or working on some project or just having lunch and socializing. So it adds immensely to happy people.
Yeah, and here too, these two beds are and this is earlier in the spring, like before anything's showing, but those are deep areas that they created garden spaces. So
their own herbs.
So like if you don't, like their employees have tomatoes growing or lettuce growing, and they can go out and water it, and they can pick it for a salad and whatever it is, they do that there. So the employees can actually have a garden if they want. So this is the cancer center that I talked about. About 4,200 square foot of planted area, and about the same, about 3,800 square foot of pavers or something like that. And you can see it's three different roofs, and you can see the daylit, the Kids Creek that they used to be underground. They pulled it off. They pulled that off, and they wanted green roofs up here to help reduce the runoff going to that stream. And I lived right behind this, or right next door to this stream, for a year, and it was amazing. Salmon and steelhead up in there instantly, the first season. We were already there spawning, brook trout all over the place. It's a cool project, and the green roof is part of the overall goal. Yeah, they're there. And here's another one at Munson. This is another one they centered on this because all the runoff from the surrounding building. This will help again slow water down from hitting that creek. We also did, there's a lot more coming up in that area. This one, this is a very dense development. It's right on the Boardman River, you know, and some people hate it. It's not the prettiest development, I'll agree, but they had the right to build there, so I can't tell them I mean, that's beyond my job to say who can build what where, but they did green roofs. All the water that's hitting there, they're slowing the majority down before it hits the water. They have a rain garden where the water goes into the rain garden to help slow the water down before it hits there. And in my opinion, this was a parking lot, a gravel parking lot before. It used to be a dump. The whole reason it was when they were digging for the basements, they were digging out Model A's and stuff, and like shoes, like the old, you know, women's shoes with the real points and like lace up to there, like ink wells, and like it was cool. Like I'm a treasure hunter kind of guy, so like it was fun because like there was, you know, I got a whiskey bottle from 1860, you know, fully intact, but. So it was a garbage dump, and like they removed all of that. It was a brownfield site, and now they have, you know, they're getting something out of that property versus, you know. So I'm for this type of work. It's over 13,000 square foot of vegetative roof. Some of them have elevators that pop up, and they have gardens and everything. They can go there. Not a low affordable housing type situation, but
so it was a dump next to the Boardman River.
It used to be a bus station. After it was a dump. It was a dump after, like, there was a big fire in Traverse City in the late 1800s, but it was also a dump, and they basically pushed a bunch of burnt stuff and garbage, and they just threw it on the river and covered it. And then there was the bus depot there for decades, and then it was a brownfield site, so they, now it's this, and it's 16 high-end homes and taxpayers densely packed right into this little, it's only like an acre and a half site, and it's tiny. But now they have 16 well-off, you know, people that are paying taxpayers. So like, so to me, it's but
they cleaned it up and they eliminated the runoff into the river.
Yes.
So.
And then they also, so there's a, you know, they created this edge, a living edge too, and they're adding this boardwalk, and they also added, so this is Pine Street right here. J&S is right down the block. I don't know if the little hamburger place downtown on Front Street. So they actually helped pay for this development. Also put a bridge over the river to connect two neighborhoods that weren't connected. So this development did a lot of good things, and part of their sale to the community and to get it signed off was vegetative roofs.
Yeah. Developments on the river are also helping the boardwalk thing for a greater Traverse City urban river.
So connectivity right here, they that was part of it. So they, you know, so they overall they did what they could to be more sensitive to the neighbors, and part of that was the green roof. Then I do small little educational ones. This is at the the Barns in Traverse City, the old on the state hospital grounds. This used to be a horse barn that for some reason they ripped down. I don't know why. It's a beautiful old thing, but they did it like in the 40s or 50s. They tore down this beautiful hay barn. But this was the tack room right here, and I worked with the Botanic Gardens down there, and the Master Gardeners group, and we did a little demonstration green roof to teach people about it. Now inside of that walled garden is a walled garden, and it's a wedding venue. It's beautiful, and they show off the green roof and the technology so people can come up and actually touch it and learn about it. This is right in your neighborhood, close here, Boyne City Hall. We did that one. We did this. There's an area, meeting area, right out of the main chambers of City Hall, or I think it's the City Hall group that will be there. But we did that last summer. This one is up in the UP. When you cross the border into Canada, on the way back, this is the bridge right there. You can see people waiting in line. And so that was one that I sold when I was at my at the other company, but now we maintain it. Once a month, we go up there in the growing season and pull weeds.
Is that in Sault Ste. Marie?
Yeah.
Is that on the government building?
Yeah.
It's there, the new government building?
Yeah.
Okay.
And those are all sedums?
Yes, it's all different types of sedum. They put down a sedum carpet, it's called. And it's about 13 to 15 different varieties, and about 6 survive. Like you put it down with 13 or more, and then they figure out which ones that will grow there. You know, the microclimate. So you'll get different ones growing on one part of the slope, and then a different one, and that's why you go there with sort of a shotgun approach, meaning you see what happens and what's going to be there. And these are all adapted, non-invasive. So you know there's sensitivity to that. So meaning they'll grow here, but they're not going to take over the woods or something. But that's here we find all kinds of crazy stuff up there. Seagull skeletons, chicken bones. What?
I think a bald eagle dropped a salmon up there.
Yeah, like
Or had dinner up there or something.
yeah. So like, and there's a lot to be learned in this one. You know, for instance, on the south end of the building. It was just not growing for years. We were fighting it, like what the heck is going on? Like trying to, like everywhere else is dense, like you can see here, and that was bare. And then we realized, I got there one morning before the sun came up, and right above it was this security light. And this security light had these huge, like, you know, 8 or 10, like million candle power lights that were just lighting the border there. And the roof was just lit up, so those sedums could never shut down and go to sleep like they need to each night. You know, do their thing, and they're you know, they breathe it. They open their they open their stomata at night. They breathe at night, but they never could so they couldn't reproduce. So they basically were, you know, ornaments until they just died off. So, you know, the crazy things that my job get me into, I had to like write letters to the federal government and stuff, and they explain what was going on, and they turned those lights off because they invested a lot of money into this roof. And they, this is actually the second time they did this roof. Originally, a different company sold it, and they didn't do it right, and it was failing. They ripped it all off and did it a second time. So they've done it twice. So anyways, this is a really large one that you can see, and it's so, but here, like, it's a quick story is like to get in there, you have to have security clearance and go through all kinds of checks to get in there, and it's interesting. This is a private home in Leland, Michigan. This one was primarily for aesthetics. Right around this corner is a hot tub overlooking Lake Michigan. This is his office. So he wanted that, you know, and they benefit from the heating and cooling benefit, the stormwater benefit, and all that. But they bought it because they wanted a green roof and wanted to see it.
Can you give a cost?
Yeah, that one was about like this is in addition to the waterproofing. This one cost in the neighborhood of about $16 a square foot to install. But that can go down and that's 1,000 square foot, you know, so that if you go larger, it can push down towards 12, 14. But if you go smaller, like this is right in the, like right on the hump. Like 1,000 square foot is really where the price starts to either increase. If it's a 200 square foot, you're gonna pay like $24.
Okay.
Because a lot of that's mobilization and getting materials shipped and all that kind of stuff. Another home, this is right after it was planted. This was planted with plugs of a lot of different perennial sedums and other types of small grasses and forbs and stuff. And I haven't, they're sort of private, so we haven't gone back to take recent pictures. But this is another very custom house.
Very modern.
There's only 2 bedrooms in the house.
What?
Very open. This is the first one I ever did way back in 2000. So I guess it's a little, like 15 years officially, but this is the first one I did while I was in college. It's on Crystal Lake in, in Benzonia, Michigan. That's actually a rammed earth home. There's not any insulation in the house other than that. It's about 18-inch thick walls of mud and straw. No corners. It's all rounded. So that was the first one I ever did. We could do these cool little structures too. You know, I have a wood shed in my house like this, and I put a door on, and my mom and stepfather have a wood shed with it, and have a dog house with it. So like, you know, it doesn't need to be like. So if you want one just to show people, or like, because they're cool, you know, you can do small ones. I got a chicken coop. He's got a chicken coop at his house. So this is Eric and my email accounts, our phone number. Follow us on Facebook if you'd like. It shows you all the stuff we're doing and events like this that might be happening, or volunteer opportunities that might be happening. We do a lot of different stuff. I'm open to any questions if anybody has them.
You said volunteer opportunities?
Yeah,
So
like
people can work on projects with you?
potentially, yes,
Okay.
depending on where it's at. You know, if there's a small shed roof going on, you know, we build 1 or 2 of those a year, where typically you can't, like, getting up on the roof is more liability there, you know. We'd want you to sign off on something, but like you can be there to see the layers going down, and you know, hand stuff up the ladder to us to do it. But you can be there, yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
Elmer's
Go
video?
Potentially. If not, it's on our Facebook and our website. You can see there's videos. There's a lot on our both of our Facebook and our website about different videos and different more information about the technology.
Seems to me most of the sites that you have shown us would be amenable to more active solar. Is that something that you see coming in here? Especially, it's interesting that you mentioned the plants and being able to cool it. Would this include agricultural plants?
Yeah, you can do that as well. Like, I'm working with the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy, and we're doing a solar panel design where the cattle can actually shade underneath it. So when we're planting a bunch of grasses to get basically the same effect on the ground of cooling the panels, but it also gives the cows a place to hide from the shade. And we're going as far as creating a scratching post. So like the post is going to be, you know, we're going to make it have abrasive stuff so they can scratch on the concrete post and everything. So.
Where is awesome?
The Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy, they have a couple properties, potentially at Maple Bay, which is just south of Elk Rapids,
Okay.
and also in a place called Misty Acres, which is by Thompson,
Only for flies.
Michigan.
Living and learning farm type place.
Okay.
Education.
But they want to prove that farming can be more sustainable from the fact of like reduced energy consumption, reuse of, like they're going to do anaerobic digesters, and they're going to collect waste from the animals and from the food products that they produce, put it in there. It's going to create methane. They're going to be able to run machinery off of the methane, and they're going to prove this whole concept. So they're working on that right now.
So she'd be all over.
Can you talk about irrigation a little bit?
Yeah, irrigation. I like putting it on a green roof. I know that here, you know, I'm definitely low irrigation mindset. You know, I'd rather, but I think that for the cost of putting in a drip irrigation system or a simple pop-up system on a rooftop, it's worth the cost. You're investing a lot of time and money already into the roof, and at a time of drought, it's going to need a drink. But there's some that you know aren't irrigated. I mean, this one here that's at the American Society of Landscape Architects, it's not irrigated, and it's in DC, which is brutal in the summertime. But you know, they hand water it when they need to because there's hose spigots up there. It's typically going to be drip irrigation, and there's pop-up as well. It depends on the structure. At Munson, they have pop-up. Both roofs have pop-up, and that's just because their facilities guys required it.
Even with sedums then?
Yeah, I mean, and there we basically get them rooted in, and we're irrigating there, I think, for 20 minutes every fourth day in the summer or something like that, just to give it a little bit of water, because it's getting baked. And they have a big investment into it, a lot of eyes all the time on it. In a project where you might not see it, it's just there to manage stormwater. You probably don't. You actually, no irrigation is actually a benefit because your sponge is drying out more. So like when you irrigate, you're reducing the holding capacity of the soil. But it's required to keep the plants alive. But sedums will last about 6 weeks with no water. But 4 to 6 weeks easy on a rooftop, because again, you're getting much more sun there than you would in a lot of other spots. But yeah, at about 4 weeks, I recommend doing something. So a hose bib at a minimum. Hose bib and a lot of the irrigation systems are the simple timer, screw it into the hose bib and have a passive drip system with one valve at the hose bib.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what's the number one reason why green roofs fail?
It borders on, I would say number one is poor design, and that could be the architect's fault, it could be the landscape architect's fault. But that also, poor design, poor planning, and that rolls into the contractor. There's plenty of contractors that say they want to do it, and they're just there, they make the money and they leave. And then so overall the design build team, I guess, is not educated or doesn't care. And then the other one is, the part of that all is maintenance. So when I first got into the industry, we wanted to sell green roofs so badly that we talked about maintenance, but it wasn't a requirement. Now, most systems, you can't put it in. You don't get a warranty unless you have a maintenance plan in the specification that they're getting bid on the project, because maintenance is critical. It could be going up there and just making sure the soil's not bone dry and everything's dead, versus pulling a weed that might clog your drain, or a tree that is going to go through the type of membrane that you have. Because the root barriers we have, some of them are meant just for sedums and other plants, and if you let a spruce tree or something go up there, it might go through there where sedum wouldn't.
Yeah, like the MSU, or the Lake Superior group with LSSU that are building.
What's that?
Oh, the one in Sault Ste. Marie, we go up and do maintenance on that one all the time. And LSSU, Lake Superior State University, is right there with a big hillside with some massive trees. And we are forever removing seedling trees.
Is there any other questions? And so we do have a brochure here, a little bit more about our company. I'll pass that around there. And business cards as well. If you'd like one of my business cards, feel free to give me a call or send me an email anytime with any questions.
All the way down.